Hi, Brad.
Hi.
Before we look ahead, just looking back, thoughts on the Houston game and what you, any other thoughts on it from other than what we
We're
said on?
looking ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it easier now? Do you the one less thing? I mean, obviously you wanted to be in that tournament, but you look at how teams that have been in that tournament did in the first weekend
Yeah.
of the season.
Yeah, we knew the schedule coming into the season. We knew it's going to be challenging. We knew it's going to be tough. We've been dealt some of the hands that we've been dealt, and we have to make the best situation out of it. That's without a fact. It's a matter of fact. So now just looking ahead, how do we mitigate? How do we manage? How do we compensate for whatever's going on right now? And we're optimistic and positive that we'll get over this little hurdle that we've been dealt with. So I mean, we can always make an excuse and reflect and talk about, staggered preseason, players not in camp, players in camp. We can look at some injuries, but we don't want to be about that. We want to be about looking forwards. We believe we have a competitive roster, and that's what we're going to try and put out.
So going into your fourth game in 12 days, how does the roster look?
Yeah, I mean, we're still evaluating Josh Yarrow, Tim Parker, Kyle Hebert. Joachim Nielsen came out the game, but he's responded well to treatment, and there was nothing wrong there. We expected a lot of him, and we didn't expect to turn him around. So yeah, that he's done an admirable job, of getting his body turned around on short notice has been incredible. So credit to the medical team and credit to him for giving us the option of having him, right? So yeah, we'll just continue to monitor and see who we can put out there Saturday. So it's too early to call now, but it's just observations right now.
Bradley, aside from the results, injuries, absences, what's your assessment of these three games that the team has played so far?
Yeah, it's a good question. We compare ourselves to ourselves, and we look at last year's not just data, but the eye test as well. And we feel that we have a lot of energy about us. We feel that we have, in the first two games, we show glimpses of what we can do. We show tons of energy. Our counter pressures and our actions around the ball are a lot higher than last year. Take out the Houston game. Our PPDA was on average of the whole of last year. So we look at all these things and compare ourselves to ourselves, because that was a good barometer. That's a good level to compare ourselves to. Obviously, to Tom's point, we're not looking back. But the Houston game, we let ourselves down in that department where we didn't show the signature of our team. And that's what we were most disappointed about.
Coach, the back line, you've got incredible depth there, but maybe with the tight schedule, some of the injuries, do you feel like you haven't seen what that back line can really give you at this point in what's been a really small sample size so far?
Yeah, I think we've had some very good contributions from the back line, the guys that have started those games. We haven't given up as many hard counters as the first 5 games of last season, right? So I mean, yeah, Roman had a big save to make just before halftime, and that was a big one. But other than that, the guys who have come in and defended over 3 games now, we feel that we've been pretty much in control of those things, and yeah, we haven't. We've seen an improvement overall from that, right? But now we've thrown guys in. We've had Jake at center back, so there's been Michael Wenzel there too. So we're trying to yeah, in layman's terms, plug the band-aid, or plug the hole with a band-aid. And that's what we're doing, right? And everyone's fully committed to getting over this hump together. And I think if you look across the league and across the board, a lot of teams are in some situations like this. So it's, again, we just have to get used to it, and embrace it, and then move forwards.
Coach, you touched on the energy, the PPDA, the pressing. How do you feel your midfield has performed in ball progression and helping to join the back line to the front in these first 3 games?
Yeah, I thought there was some moments where, we're looking to combine in short, tight spaces, and we're looking to be us. And then obviously our bread and butter is the transition, right? So, the whole of last year, we had 5.5 shots in our transition phases, on average, per game. Over the first 2 games, the Champions League against Houston, against RSL, we had 7 shots in the transition phase. from last year's averages, and last year was pretty a high standard. So, against Houston, it went down to 2 in the transition. So again, a day and night difference from the 3 games. From the Houston game to the first 2 competitive games that we played this year. And we're measuring, obviously, the sort of talking points, what we're looking for through preseason. We look at the preseason stuff. We were very competitive, played some good teams and really, put things on our terms and in our way, right? So yes, there's a lot to work on, for sure. There's a lot of rust there, and we're working through these things. But I would be, a lot more unhappy if we weren't getting into the final third entries, box entries. We see Thomas Ostrak getting twice, against Houston. We have Sam going twice alone with the goalkeeper. We have moments, right, where, we make these opportunities count. And then we have a totally different conversation sitting right here. So I think it's on that edge, so where we're very early in preseason and we're still ironing out those kinks.
And when it comes to the attacking third, how do you see Sam and Klaus having the partnership so far this year, and especially Klaus's role in that partnership?
Yeah, sometimes we've used Klaus as a little bit deeper. We can operate at a 4-2-3-1 with Klaus in the 10 spot. We can use him as a second striker, whether it was the diamond or 4-4-2. So yeah, we did that against Houston, with the tight schedule that we did have. We try to limit them in as much as we could, but we also needed them as much as we needed them, right? So still trying to find the balance of, the scheduling and how much and how long we can push these guys without, any accumulative fatigue setting in, right? So, because that's what we try to mitigate. And both those guys have done a hell of a job. But yeah, I think there's in every department, there's 1 or 2 things that we're looking at where we're trying to get better than we, obviously need to be. Because we've had long, honest, hard looks, and the game that we've last played was not really, didn't look and feel right. And that's the biggest takeaway for us.
What's Nicholas Door's status? Is he close to being able to play?
Yeah, sure. He's given a good account of himself over the last 2-3 training sessions. I think he's getting up to his, first of all, you have to get up to the way we play, right? The speed and the intensity. Then, you have to get up to your own fitness level, right? And then contribute in the ways that we are looking for. So I think over his last 2 or 3 sessions, he's done all of that, which makes him now, I think the door's open for him to be in contention.
And how's Rasmus doing?
Rasmus trained with us today. It looked like he had never left. So, he actually had to, break him a little bit in terms of his intensity, because he just came out the sort of training session flying, we had to tell him to calm down a little bit. But that's just Rasmus, he empties the tank every time he gets on the grass and on the field. And yeah, he's chasing the ball like first day we've ever had him. So it's good to have him around the group, because he brings a certain energy and a different type of aura and an energy we need right now.
So they both might play?
I don't think Rasmus, but I mean, he's progressing really well. And again, every threshold we set, we have to see how he recovers now.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. So up until we get to certain levels, Tim looked okay today in training. So hopefully that's some positive news for us, but it's still open.
Team-wise, is the intensity, how have you felt about the intensity?
I've spoken about all those things that we've had. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Everyone else fit? Everyone else good to go?
Good.
So are Tim and Josh, are they like questionable? I mean, where do they stand on?
Yeah, like I told you the other night post game or before the last game, Tim more ready than Josh.
Coach, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris. How, looking back now over your 3 games or the 3 games the team has played, how's it coming along team-wise, not just you-wise? But...
Yeah, I think I think we're continuing to progress and get to know each other. Obviously the last game was frustrating. And like coach said, I think off the field test just didn't feel right. But we're all still continuing to make partnerships and getting that rust off and getting to know each other. I think the energy is there. That's just I think a couple more things need to get together, and then I think we'll start to be flying.
How tough are stretches like this when you have 4 games in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's tough. It really relies on the the depth of your roster and everybody being bought in at the right time. And I think it's a credit to the guys. I felt like the energy has been good, and guys have stepped up when they needed to. And it's like I said, it's frustrating that we can't continue to progress in the Champions Cup. But I think the level of quality we have within the team will help us out, especially in this weekend.
Chris, thinking about New York City FC, you played against them a couple of times last year. You even scored a goal. Can you give us some insight about New York City FC?
Yeah, I think they, always play well with the ball, have a lot of talented players on the ball, and it's about how we can control that. I know they'll try and build out, and I think that suits our style of play well, or we can, maybe take advantage of them trying to play out in, dangerous moments. So I think it's a matchup that is good for us, and I think we want to definitely build off of last game against Salt Lake at home. So I think it's a good bounce back game for us, and I know the guys are really hungry to get out there and get the win.
Chris, wondering if you can speak more to the partnerships that you're continuing to build that you mentioned, as far as when you're possessing the ball and you're looking to progress it up the field. What's working so far, and what do you feel like you still have to work with to get really to that optimal level?
Yeah, I think it's continuing to find that balance. I think working with Tomas and Jose and Jabs and Edu, all different types of players, and it's about how I can complement them. I'm a guy that wants to help complement the other guy, so I like doing the dirty work, and I like doing anything to help cover for other guys. And I think it's about continuing to progress on the ball. I think I definitely can get sharper on the ball, and that's, I think, goes for everybody. I think we all need to get better on the ball, especially with our tilt and in our possession phase. I think we can be a little bit sharper, but that goes along with a bit of the rust that we're talking about, and continuing to develop those partnerships, because we haven't had a ton of games together, but I know that the ideas are there, and it's just about continuing to gain more confidence in those tighter areas where it takes a lot more quality.
You noticed anything that's taking you by surprise as far as the regular season versus preseason? Not just the intensity of the games, but anything on the field or with the competition?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, I think, difficult coming back into the league because there's such a long break. Coming out of DC and not making the playoffs, it's almost 2 months of not playing another competitive game. So you're both, when you feel that energy within the stadium or getting onto the field, you kind of have to get back into the swing of things again. And I think that's progressing, but it's always hard having that really long stop period and getting back into game speed. So I think looking back on the whole preseason, I thought it was really good, and I think we should take more confidence from some of those games that we had and try and apply more of that into the games that actually matter.
Brendan?
Hey, Chris, do you think you can find, is there a way to find value in fighting adversity early in the year? Can that be a valuable thing, you think, for a club?
Yeah, 100%. Adversity will only make us stronger, I think. Where we start to look at what we're not doing well, I think winning sometimes can kind of shine over some of the things that we're not doing well, mistakes and stuff. So this really helps us single out right now what we're not doing well and really fine tune those things. So I know the coaching staff and the players are all working hard to come to the right consensus on what we need to do better. And everybody just needs to look at themselves in the mirror and ask what they can do better. I know that we have a lot of good characters within the group, and everybody's doing that.
Wrap up with Tom.
Is when you have this many games, is it harder mentally or physically? Which one kind of drains on you? Drains the most?
Yeah, both. I mean, this is our job, so it's up to us to be prepared as good as we can physically. I think a 2-day or 3-day turnover. Mentally, the same thing. I think mentally, it's just about switching to the new opponent right after you have that game. Now we got to focus on somebody else, which I think is good. We can kind of put that Houston game behind us, that sour taste in our mouth that we weren't who we wanted to be, and now look at New York City FC, and It's another new chance to play in front of our fans again and hopefully not start to create some momentum.
Chris, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.